Another tip for helping homeschool days go more smoothly for all families, but in particular large families, is actually two tips in one. It's your lucky day. Two sides of the same coin: nap time and physical activity. So in Minnesota, it can be difficult to build physical activity into your regular routine throughout the year, because in the summer and spring and fall months, it's really easy to just go outside, ride bikes, play in your yard, go to the park, go on a walk. There's all kinds of things you can do depending on where you live and your kids' development age and all of those things. But in the winter months, that can be more tricky. Obviously, you can get bundled up and go outside, but when it gets really cold, especially if you have younger ones, that can be a little harder. It can be also sometimes just trickier in a large family to just figure out the dynamics of what that looks like. So I want to encourage you that making physical activity a part of your day is vital, but it doesn't have to be a huge thing. So kids, particularly smaller kids, are big bundles of energy. And if you don't give them constructive ways to get some of that energy out, they are going to find ways to get that energy out, and it may not always be constructive. Also, you'll discover that your kids are going to be more fidgety and have more problem focusing and paying attention than if you're able to give them an outlet for that energy. So some simple things that I've done in my home have been like before I start lessons with my younger kids, we will do wiggle time. And I'll just simply put on some music and I'll be like, okay, it's wiggle time. And they know that they have to move around, they can dance, they can run around, they can just wiggle and be silly. But they have to keep moving the entire time the music is on. If they start to slow down or stop, I'll be like, no, 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 it's wiggle time. I'll join in with them and do it too. Not all the time. Sometimes I'm setting something up for school, but I'll be sure to be there and be participating in some way. But I found this incredibly helpful, because then when we start the lesson, they've gotten their wiggles out and they're just able to sit still a little longer and to focus a little better. A game that I highly recommend, I believe I made it up. And I don't know if I had ever heard of it anywhere else anyway, but I've used it with my kids and also in like a children's church setting, and it's always been a favorite. Somehow I had forgotten about it for a little while, and we just recently resurrected it at our home, and it was really fun to hear the older kids remember and talk about how much they loved it, and my younger kids too. So it is the rainforest race game. So one day I was just needing something to do with my kids. This was years and years ago, and I think probably it was born out of the fact that at the time my son liked Diego and my daughter liked Dora. And so I just said, okay guys, everybody stand up. And I was kind of making it up as I went. And I said, we're gonna go on a rainforest race. And everybody, I had them run in place, and I just made stuff up. So as they're running, I would go, oh, all right, you guys, do you see the river? We're coming up to the river. We're gonna have to jump across. Okay, ready, 1, 2, 3, jump. And they would have to jump, and we'd have to climb trees to get away from the panther. But then, the panther can climb trees, so we have to jump into the river and swim down the river. And there's a snake, quick, jump up on the bank, and blah, blah, blah. You get the point. I don't know if it was always completely accurate to life in a rainforest, but it was a really good way for my kids to get some physical activity. It usually would end with a lot of giggling, and it just helped them, again, to get some of their energy out so that they could focus during school if they were in school. And with the younger ones, it helped them just to get some energy out too, so that they were able to sit and play quietly. Well, I was doing school with the older ones. So you don't have to do it that way if that's not your style, and maybe you have a home gym or a gym membership or whatever the case is, but do make physical activity a part of your day, and you're gonna find that your day goes more smoothly. The flip side of that too is nap time. Take advantage of nap time. Use that time to do lessons. If your younger kids are sleeping, have that be a bulk of when you're getting stuff done with your older kids, because that is invaluable to have time where they're not distracted or you're not being pulled on by a younger child. As your kids begin to outgrow nap time, they can still do what I used to call blanket time, just with a blanket. And now it's kind of evolved a little bit, but you simply have a blanket and your kids get some books and toys they can play with quietly, and they have to stay on that for a period of time. Obviously, you need to make it a reasonable amount of time for their age and development, but while they're quietly occupied, then you can, where obviously you're still supervising them, but then you can be engaging in a lesson with your older kids. If you have kids that are competitive, something that has worked really well for me is a timer, because they will try to beat their own time of how long they sat still and quietly. And so I have used that with my kids as well, both during their own lesson time and as I've been doing lessons with other kids. So again, you want to keep it reasonable for their age and development, because you're not trying to have that be an unhealthy thing in their life, but it is a good lesson for kids to learn how to quietly occupy themselves and how to sit still and how to be able to pay attention as well. So physical activity, nap, or rest time are two keys to helping in a larger family your homeschooling days to go more smoothly.